So desktop speakers are pretty much an essential piece of a desk setup. For the past 9 months since moving to Japan, I've been using a Logitech Z407 desktop speakers for my day-to-day use, from productivity work like video editing to media consumption like watching Netflix and listening to Spotify while getting some work done. The Z407 is a 2.1 channel setup desktop speakers that comes with two pill-like satellite speakers, each outputting at 10 watts with a 20 watt subwoofer, and ultimately outputs a total of 40 watts RMS and up to 80 watts peak output. Combining this with Logitech's digital signal processing technology, these speakers deliver immersive, lifelike sound covering all of the crispy high notes, powerful mid and low ranges. The Z407 also comes with a wireless dial for volume control, as well as a quick EQ based adjustment, which is super handy. These speakers are also Bluetooth 5.0, have an aux input as well as a micro USB input, allowing users to switch up to 3 different input choices. The Z407 is priced at $100 and is this the best bang for your buck Bluetooth desktop speakers? In short, yes, but for those of you who want to dive a little deeper, you might want to stick around for this video. Hi, my name is Ken and welcome back to the channel where we talk about filmmaking, photography, gadgets related and tech. If any of these piques your interest, consider subscribing to the channel as you may learn a thing or two from these videos. So today we'll be taking a look at these rather clean and minimalistic speakers from Logitech, the Z407 desktop speakers. A little disclaimer, I don't usually make reviews on speakers, but I do have a thing for a good pair of speakers from my previous Sony WH-1000 XM3 and XM4 videos. Links are at the card above and in the description box below if you are interested. That being said, here are all the topics that we'll be discussing today. Sit back, relax and enjoy the video. Let's dive right in. Starting from the unboxing of the product, the Z407 speakers comes packaged with a blue box with the Z407 printed on the top left hand corner. Now, taking a look inside this massive box, you'll be greeted with an instruction manual for installation of the speakers, the way to set it up, pairing the speakers via Bluetooth, all in which we will be going through in just a bit. Taking a look at under the hood, on the left hand side is the subwoofer, and to the right is the wireless dial and two satellite speakers at the bottom of the box. So the first thing is the wireless dial for volume control and playback controls. Then we have the pill-shaped satellite speakers for the left and right channel. We have a 3.5mm audio jack, a pair of AAA batteries, the plastic stand for the satellite speakers, and of course the satellite speakers themselves. Now, taking a look at the subwoofer package, we have the subwoofer with the power cord attached to the back. Now, on the back panel, we have a micro USB port, a 3.5mm aux port, a pair of right and left channel input port, and the last one to the right is the AC cord, which by the way is a non-detachable Japan region plug. And that's basically everything that comes inside the box. Now, let's take a look at the build and dimensions of the Logitech Z407 speakers. There is only one color on the Z407, which is sort of a black slate grey kind of finish, which keeps the speaker clean and simple. The Z407 system comes with a dual 10 watt satellite speakers with roughly 2.3 inches drivers and a 20 watt subwoofer with a down-firing 5-inch driver. The dimensions of the satellite speakers are sitting at 84mm in width, 85mm in depth and about 200mm in height. And each of the speakers weigh in at about 389.6 grams. The material used on the satellite speakers feels like ABS plastic, which is really lightweight. A quick thing to mention is that the Logitech logo is printed only on the right speaker, as you can see right here. Now onto the back of the speakers, there are two slots to position your satellite speakers. You can either position it in the horizontal orientation or the vertical orientation, depending on your desk setup. And right here is the undetachable RCA cable connected to both satellite speakers. So the left satellite speaker is 99% identical to the right speaker, apart from the Logitech print on the front side of the right channel speaker. Moving on to the subwoofer, the dimension sits at around 240mm in width, 180mm in depth and about 240mm in height, and it weighs in at a massive 2.45 kilograms. Here on the front, same as the right satellite speaker, the Logi logo printed at the center of the lower bottom. Taking a look at the back panel, you have a micro USB port, an AUX port, the standard RCA right and left channel, and finally a non-detachable power cable. A side note to that is that depending on the region or country that you buy the speakers from, the Z407 in the US comes with a detachable power cable. Also, in case if you want to know, the Z407 speakers is rated at 100 to 240 volts, which means that this can be used all around the world. With just the correct plug head and you are good to go. All around the subwoofer, the build is simple, clean and minimal looking. Now, let's take a look at what's under the hood. As mentioned earlier, this is a 20 watts 5-inch subwoofer that is downward firing. Supporting the subwoofer are 4 rubber feet, which adds an elevation height of about 15mm. Overall, the build of the subwoofer, considering the 4 corners of the subwoofer, which is extremely square and can be pretty sharp on the edges, is pretty solid. Now, let's take a look at the final item that comes bundled with the Logitech Z407 speakers, which is the wireless puck dial thing. The dimensions of this dial sits at around 70mm in diameter with a height of about 29.4mm and it weighs in at about 74.4 grams, with batteries included. Taking a look from the top towards the right hand side, there is the Logi logo printed, and the material used on the top part is made from texturized rubber. This top piece is able to rotate freely with no hard stops, either clockwise or counterclockwise. Taking a look at the bottom, there is an LED to indicate the current input mode of the speaker that it is in. It lights up purple when connected to aux input, blue when connected via Bluetooth, and white when it's connected via micro USB connection. There are 2 buttons below the LED, which is a Bluetooth pairing button, while the other button is a toggle between different input modes. Supporting the entire base of the wireless dial are rubber feet to prevent slipping when rotating the dial. Last is the compartment to store the 2 AAA batteries, which comes included in the package that we unboxed earlier. The arrow is indicated on the cover itself, all of which is pretty straightforward. Now that's basically all about the design and build quality of the Satellite speakers, subwoofer and wireless dial of the Logitech Z407 speakers. Moving on to the features of what the Z407 has to offer. As mentioned earlier, the Z407 is a 2.1 channel setup speakers. That means you have 2 left and right speakers paired with a subwoofer. Setting up the Z407 was a little confusing at the beginning. I started off with using the AUX cable directly but couldn't get it to output any sound. Little did I know I needed to use the wireless dial to switch my input to aux mode, which then the LED lights up purple. The Bluetooth pairing is rather straightforward. Long press on the Bluetooth button and you will begin pairing. You will hear this chime and a blue flashing LED indicating that the Z407 is ready to pair. Hit connect on your device and that's it. Since we are talking about this little thing, it is said that the range of this thing covers up to 20 meters depending on your environment. The wireless dial functions as a physical volume knob for volume control. Rotate it clockwise to increase the volume and counterclockwise to decrease the volume. The wireless dial is also clickable. Depending on the input that you are in, single click actually functions differently. When you are in USB mode or Bluetooth mode, single click functions as play or pause. Double click fast forwards the track and triple click rewinds the track that you are on. Where the LED indicates purple, single click functions as a mute and unmute function. There is no double or triple click when using AUX mode. Now, one thing in common is long pressing for about 2 seconds enters bass EQ adjustment mode, regardless of whatever input that you are in. So there are a total of 66 steps increasing or decreasing the bass EQ settings as I counted one by one. The difference is noticeable as you adjust the bass settings. I'll leave a link to the full list of commands and functions of the wireless dial in the description box down below if you are interested. Now I'm sorry that we have just talked about bass EQ adjustments without even talking about the sound quality of the speakers, which is probably the main reason you click on the video to find out. Now about the sound quality of these speakers, I just have to say that overall it is pretty solid and it sounds really good. Now I know that it is not so accurate to showcase a speaker quality over a video because it depends a lot on the microphone that you are using, and I may not have the best microphone to do this, but I will still insert a couple of clips from a range of genres like an acoustic, bass boosted, vocals and also instrumental tracks for a quick showcase. I will also record a sound clip from an iPhone 13 speaker for quick comparison. So overall, I think the sound quality is really good. Coming from a speaker that is sub $100. The sound quality is clear with impressive stereo separation, and with the 40 watts RMS output power is more than sufficient for the space that I'm currently living in. Do remember that the Z407 is also able to output up to 80 watts peak power. In case you have a big and spacious room, you will have no problem filling up the room. Now that we have talked about the features and sound quality from the Logitech Z407, let's talk about the things that I like and dislike. Starting from the things that I really like is of course the sound quality. To me, I feel like these speakers are more than sufficient for someone who uses it for media consumption and productivity work. Video editing that requires a precise playback feedback. I've had no issues with playback delay when doing video editing especially, but there is a twist which we will get into in just a second. But nonetheless, the sound quality from these speakers are really good. Another thing that I like is the design of the Satelite speakers. Since it is able to be in a horizontal orientation and vertical, makes it configurable depending on your desk setup. I also like that the speakers comes with a wireless dial for ease of access for volume control, and even quick access to adjusting your bass EQ settings. Now, with all of the good things said, there are a couple of things that I didn't really like. Remember earlier we talked about how there is a twist with the playback feedback. When using the aux input mode, whenever your PC goes to screensaver mode or basically idle for a while, the speakers don't respond immediately when you resume a track. YouTube video, Netflix, and this also includes that when you are video editing. It takes about 2 to 4 seconds for the speakers to fire up, and you would oftentimes need to intentionally increase or decrease the volume of the speakers, and a couple of seconds later, the audio will work just normally. However, I found out that the playback delay is dramatically reduced when using the USB input mode. But there is also a small twist. Volume control using the USB mode versus the aux input mode has a slight difference on volume settings. For example, when you are in USB mode, the volume dial is exactly off your PC's volume setting. As compared to when you are using the aux mode, you have 2 separate volume control. One is from your PC and the other is the volume control of the speakers. That being said, when you are in USB input mode, as you rotate to increase and decrease the volume, the feedback is not instantaneous and it takes a couple of seconds for the speakers to react to the adjustment. I am not sure why, as I expect a better connection with the USB input mode over the aux since it's getting direct feedback using digital signal by the PC. Similarly, using aux input mode, there is also a tad bit delay when adjusting the volume control knob, but it is not as bad as the micro USB input. Another tiny thing that I didn't like is that the chimes coming from these speakers when turning on, switching input sources and hitting the limit of your volume knob. These chimes seem to be at a constant volume level that is not adjustable. You have no options to switch it off, and I think a simple integration with a software application to toggle on and off these notification setting and EQ adjustments via software could be a nice touch. Since Logitech has their infamous Logi Options Plus application that can detect various devices when in use, I think it would be great to include these speakers to be supported in the app as well. With all of the good and bad, the Logitech Z407 currently retails at $99 US. Considering the sound quality from this 40-watt speaker, Bluetooth available, and also comes with a wireless dial for ease of volume control as well as bass EQ adjustments. For those of you who are considering to pick up a pair of desktop speakers, do consider taking a look at the Z407 by Logitech. I would highly recommend them. So should you pick up the Logitech Z407 2.1 channel setup speakers, I will let you decide it for yourself. And that's basically all I have for you in this video. I hope you have found this video insightful. If you have any questions or anything that you want me to test, feel free to leave me a comment down below. I'll be sure to get back to you guys as soon as possible. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Ken and I'll catch you all in the next video. Stay safe, peace out, and bye bye. We're done. Yo. Okay, is it too loud? Okay, we're gonna do it in one take.